we're going to be covering a discovery case study and really walking through the CloudHealth platform and discussing different use cases and different ways we're bringing value to the financial services and insurance industries. So a quick agenda, we're going to start off by discussing who is CloudHealth by VMware, and then moving on to some cloud management challenges, some common challenges faced by the industry, and then discussing the cloud management maturity framework, and then finally reviewing some best practices. So CloudHealth is a software solution that over 10,000 businesses use to manage their cloud environments. We work with some of the largest cloud consumers in the world and manage more than 11 billion in cloud spend annually across all of the leading public and hybrid cloud providers. We actually recently added support for Oracle Cloud, and we also have support for a variety of container solutions. On average, we help our customers achieve about 25% cost savings. We do this not just by providing data and recommendations for optimizing your infrastructure, but also by teaching a framework that helps you align your cloud strategy across teams and departments, which is what we're going to talk about today. VMware, a name I'm sure most of you know quite well. VMware was a CloudHealth customer for many years before ultimately buying us in 2018. And CloudHealth is now positioned as the leading solution for multi-cloud management across VMware's entire portfolio. If we take a step back for a moment and think about why businesses are moving from on-premises data centers to the public cloud, words like speed, agility, innovation, these all come to mind. The bottom line is that when you operate in the cloud, you can deliver software products faster. You have access to the tools and services the cloud providers offer that make building and deploying workloads so much faster and easier. And that's a strategic advantage. But once you start operating in the cloud, many of our customers face challenges they hadn't anticipated. For example, you're no longer operating in an environment where IT has control over all of the resources that are provisioned for developers. Instead, developers can spin up instances all by themselves and start racking up costs across different cloud providers. So businesses start to lose control over their environment. They face escalating cloud bills. These problems are only compounded when operating at scale. When you have multiple teams who start using multiple clouds and deploying hundreds of workloads, cloud operations can become a large challenge. And that's essentially highlighting sort of the main problem statement there. Now, when we look at modernizing applications and matching applications to the best environment or cloud, this can be challenging and adds a lot of complexity to your environment. Financial service IT leaders expect the number of environments hosting applications to grow, and without a modern digital platform to build, run, and manage applications, you'll be dealing with additional complexity. At the end of 2019, VMware contracted Forrester to survey financial services IT business leaders around the world, and results showed that today, our financial services IT executives support a little over 4 application environments, and they expect this to grow upwards to about 7 in the next 3 years. This includes private clouds, public clouds, and edge environments. If financial service organizations are struggling today, it will only get much more difficult for them in the future. We need to ease and streamline the management of applications across cloud environments while we transform to a modern, agile environment. Let me walk you through the CloudHealth platform so you can better understand how it works. And we're going to kind of be reviewing this from the bottom and working our way towards the top. It starts by ingesting data from whatever cloud platforms you use today, as well as your containerized or data center environments. CloudHealth will also connect and pull data from third-party tools that you use for application performance management, provisioning, configuration management, security management, etc., allowing you to use CloudHealth as your single source of truth for multi-cloud management across your entire portfolio. CloudHealth ingests and aggregates all of this data into an integrated data layer. The CloudHealth platform will then normalize across all of these assets and data to perform analysis on cost, usage, performance, and security. Customers can use this rich data to serve the following use cases. Visualizing and reporting. CloudHealth lets you categorize and view your assets by any logical business group, for example, line of business, environment, application, etc. You can then use these groupings to create and subscribe to reports and dashboards to discover trends. Next would be optimize and recommend. Here you can get actionable recommendations to reduce cost, improve security, and streamline performance. This includes everything from ROI recommendations, flagging security vulnerabilities, untagged infrastructure, or underutilized assets across all of your public and private clouds. And then sort of the third area would be around governing via policies. Here you would define what the desired state should be in your cloud environment, and then get alerted anytime cost, usage, configuration, performance, or security drifts from the desired state. And you can also add automation to the governance policies, allowing CloudHealth to take actions such as start, stop, terminate, or resize assets when certain policy conditions are met. Next up, we have our cloud maturity framework. And as organizations move through their cloud maturity journey, CloudHealth is here to help their business fuel innovation, enable competitive differentiation. So on the right-hand side, you have the three sort of centers of excellence or areas of excellence for cloud management. And then, along the x-axis, you have the different stages of maturity. Starting with visibility. A typical cloud journey begins with trying to address challenges around gaining visibility into a decentralized multi-cloud environment. Without visibility across all clouds broken down by business groups, companies struggle with predicting and forecasting cost, quickly identifying security vulnerabilities, and maintaining consistent infrastructure. Cost is usually the first area that an organization will tackle with regards to visibility, but usage, configuration, performance, security are all equally, if not more important. Next is optimization, which is the process of finding opportunities to be more efficient, whether it's in cost savings, time savings due to operational improvements, or tightening security parameters. At this phase, optimization processes may be manual, but organizations should start documenting approaches they find beneficial for use across teams, sharing the best practices. Next is governance and automation, and this consists of defining the ideal state so you can monitor when drift occurs. Some companies equate this to setting up guardrails for their environment. Typically the ideal state is an optimized state, whether it's cost, security, or usage optimization. Once governance policies are established, the next phase is to automate response and remediation of these policies. And this, of course, will free up employee time for more critical tasks. Many organizations find that as their cloud grows, staff can't keep up with the sheer volume of information and the complexity of running production workloads across multiple clouds. And then lastly, we have the business integration. And at this phase, you've truly integrated your cloud processes and KPIs into core business processes and evaluation of the overall health of your organization. Optimizations are made continuously and automatically to align with the key drivers of your business. For example, your go-to-market strategy for packaging and pricing. Once you've reached this stage, you have transparency into the key KPIs for the business at the customer level and also have the ability to identify new sales opportunities. Now let's kind of dig into some of these pillars of CloudHealth and pillars of cloud optimization in a bit more detail. Starting with the first phase of maturity, which is where you're trying to gain visibility into your environment. In other words, you just want to see what you have and organize all those assets in some logical way. Our first recommendation is to develop a consistent tagging or labeling structure across all of your cloud resources. The top cloud providers do provide basic tagging functionality, but if you're using multiple clouds and likely a data center as well, you don't necessarily have a way to apply a common set of tags across your entire multi or hybrid cloud environment. To address this, CloudHealth, we use something called perspectives, to create consistent tags across different environments. With these tags in place, the business can begin to see which teams and applications are using which resources or which configurations led to security vulnerabilities. The key is to be extremely consistent in your tagging structure, but the perspective engine is designed to help normalize any differences in variations in tagging formats. And the policy engine can help drive compliance to a particular tagging schema that the business may be trying to gain more coverage around. So for example, some of the most common tags or perspectives that we see our customers creating include line of business, department, cost center, project, environment, and owner. All different ways to kind of view your infrastructure through these particular lenses and gaining more granular and more interesting understandings and findings around your data. Next is optimization. This is a phase you're never really going to be done with. Even after maturing into cloud governance and automation and business integration phases, you'll still be looking for ways to optimize your finances, operations, security, and compliance processes. In other words, optimization is truly an ongoing process. There's a few really best practices we can help companies drive. We recommend first making sure you're using the latest generation of resources. They might offer more capacity or be more efficient than previous generations. That's some low-hanging fruit that we can identify. The next, you can look to terminate unused or non-compliant resources. If you're, for example, running in AWS, after you detach an EBS storage volume from an EC2 instance, it remains active and you are still being charged for it. This is what we like to call zombie infrastructure. It's running and incurring charges, but it's not doing anything useful in your environment. So you need to delete those unattached disk volumes to avoid incurring further unnecessary charges. We also give all kinds of recommendations in the CloudHealth platform, including showing you which resources are zombies so you can quickly delete them. If you're not using a tool that provides recommendations, you'll need to think of other ways to determine which resources are not being used optimally. One pro tip, you can look for virtual machines that are using very little compute capacity over, say, the last 30 days. Those with an average CPU of less than 5% and a max CPU of less than 20%. Those would be great candidates to either shut down or to right size. Of course, right sizing simply means choosing a smaller, cheaper resource that still covers all of your workload needs. It can also mean the opposite, changing to a larger resource if your applications are not running as well as they should be. Tools like CloudHealth can make this process easier. It can also be done manually by looking individually at each of your instances, analyzing their used and available capacity. And then moving into cleaning up your environment, it's really just one part of cost optimization, but where you can get a lot of cost savings can be by leveraging commitments to your cloud provider. Most cloud providers offer discounts if you agree to spend a certain amount of money or use a certain amount of resources over a set period of time. So you have really just helps you, the CloudHealth platform can deliver these types of recommendations and run these types of analysis regarding reserved instances or leveraging savings plans, helping you to really crunch the numbers and understand what the most optimal configuration of reservations or savings plans, what would that most optimal mix be for your usage. And over time, we'll continue to surface recommendations for either exchanging those reservations and ultimately making sure you're driving as much savings as possible and providing dashboards and reports that help you to really justify those investments and show exactly how much savings you're realizing over time and really driving different KPIs across the business. Next, we'll discuss governance and automation. Once you decide which size compute instance is appropriate for your customer-facing applications, or you might learn that snapshot backups are over 6 months old or no longer valuable, right? These are some of the learnings that you begin to understand as you manage the cloud. You'll be able to identify these parameters that make sense for your business. Once you do that, you can make those parameters a standard company policy. At first, you may just want to alert people when they're outside of a policy. For example, you can trigger an alert to a developer who provisions a compute service that's larger than company policy says it is needed. Over time, you'll want to automate those policies. Instead of just alerting the developer that he or she is over provisioning, you can delete the resource or spin up a different smaller instance and trigger an alert telling the developer that this change has automatically been made. These policies are totally customizable. You can set up whatever is appropriate for your company, but you can really start to imagine why it's so important to have representation across all functional roles in your Cloud Center of Excellence team, because you want to make sure that governance and automation policies meet everyone's needs and you're not going to run into pushback. Finally, once your organization has developed governance policies and automated where appropriate, it's time to fully integrate your cloud processes into core business processes. When you do this, you'll be able to see the impact the cloud decisions have on business KPIs. For example, you'll be able to calculate exactly what your costs are per customer, which can inform pricing and packaging decisions. True business integration happens when cloud operations impact all business decisions, and the Cloud Center of Excellence becomes a strategic player in executive leadership groups. A few example KPIs: cost per customer, cloud spend as a percentage of revenue, reduction in COGS over time, compliance issues open, in other words, number of compliance issues open, and customer satisfaction or net promoter score. Here we'll walk through a case study for Discovery and some background. Discovery began its cloud journey in 2012, recognizing the need for scale, flexibility, and global reach. Daily operations proved to be challenging. Discovery wanted to simplify management and take action faster. Discovery leverages the CloudHealth portfolio for centralized visibility, optimization, and security and compliance. The clouds that Discovery uses, AWS as well as VMware. And some of the results achieved by leveraging the CloudHealth suite includes reporting on 62 cloud environments in 12 countries. These are now consolidated into one. Costs are down 40% due to reserved instance optimization and reduction of waste. And then on the security side, CloudHealth Secure State identifies potential issues and ranks them in order of risk so teams can focus on the most critical risks. So that is a quick summary of some of the successes that Discovery has had using the CloudHealth platform, in addition to the CloudHealth Secure State software. And I also wanted to point everyone to our cloud management maturity assessment. You can go to cloudhealthtech.com and take the assessment yourself. It's about a 5-minute process and really helps you understand, where the opportunities are, kind of where you're going in your journey, and kind of providing a number of different best practices and helping you to sort of understand where you fit in that process and where improvements can be made. So I definitely encourage everyone to take that assessment. It's a short 5 minutes, but there's a lot of detail and a lot of great information in there.